Anytime you use a tool, especially a power tool, you need to know how you're supposed to use it, how you're going to use it. You need to be aware of how to stay safe and how not to hurt yourself when you're using it. And in the words of the Godfather himself, Norm Abrams, there's no greater safety gear than these. Last time I showed you a little bit about the prep work and a little bit about some of the other stuff that kind of popped up and got in the way with the job. This time we're going to go into a little bit more detail about the materials, technique, what I did, why I did what I did, and we're still going to focus mostly on the parking spot over there, but if I get this done by the end of it, I'll show you that too.
If you're one of the 6 people who watched the last video, then you know what's going on. But if you're not one of those people, here's a quick recap. We dug down about 8 or 9 inches total, so we're doing about 5 or 6 inches of the paver base. We're doing about 5 or 6 inches of the paver base.
These are all pigeon footprints from the birds walking around in here. So I put down the weed barrier, then there's gravel, then there's sand all over it. There's different types of paver bases, a bunch of them. Some are good, some are bad, and everybody's got a different opinion on them. I went with the gravel and then the sand on top because it made the most sense to me. I've seen online there's guys who don't use the sand, they just put down the gravel and lay the bricks. It seems to work for them. I don't know if it's bad to do it that way. The sand makes it easy to get the bricks nice and level, especially if you're not doing the whole job in one day and birds and other things that are going to happen to the work in between steps. There's the plastic expandable stuff that you lay down and then fill with gravel. I didn't use that because I wasn't sure how to level the top of the gravel off with it. It's going to mound up or not come up high enough, or I don't know. I thought I might have issues, so I didn't go with that. I didn't go with the other types. There's like a recycled rubber or plastic or something like that paver base you can get. To me, it seemed like I was just dumping a bunch of extra plastic in the ground. Not knocking that. I didn't research it that well. I just went with gravel and sand. So in the last video when I showed the paver base that I was doing and showed that I was sifting it out of the dirt, I got some people saying, hey, you can't just put dirt down as the paver base. It's not going to work. You're going to have a lot of problems later. Let me show you what I did and what I meant by it. I didn't just put back down dirt. So the dirt in my backyard is rocks. Someone had dumped a bunch of like big rocks in the yard. On top of that, they put down 3/8 inch crushed gravel, basically paver base, to cover the whole thing and cover up all the junk and trash that was in the yard. So I sifted out these big rocks and I ended up with a lot of the little rocks, and it's the little rocks that I used. It's the same stuff that you would go and buy. Now some of the batches were a little dustier than others because there is some fine dirt in there with them, but that's what I did. It's gravel. It's not dirt. If you've got the same situation, sure, go for it. You can do the same. Anything less than having a yard already made of pure gravel, then I'd recommend go buying it. It's not very expensive. It comes in big half-ton bags from the hardware store. If you don't have a truck, they'll deliver it. It's fantastic. I got a lot of dirt out of it, so sifting the dirt helped me use up some of that dirt.
In the middle of everything, there were other projects. There was sprinkler lines to run. We had to fix the wall. We had to fix the gate. So by the end of the last video, we had got the paver base down. It's leveled out, but it's graded, so water will run off away from the house, away from the wall, out the gate, and then we got it tamped down. All right, this is the tamp that I got. It's got a piece of carpet on it right now for when you're doing the bricks, so you don't chip up the bricks. It's just steel. These are about the same price online as they are straight from the hardware store. If you're doing a project in one day, everybody recommends, and I'll tell you too, even though I didn't use it, you can rent a gas-powered tamper. I didn't, because this is ongoing. This is a long project. I think they're like a couple $100 to rent or something like that. But that's a day or a weekend, or I don't really know. This went on far too long for me to be spending that kind of money, because you don't just tamp at the end. You tamp the paver base maybe more than once. You tamp the bricks down. You tamp when you do the polymeric sand. It really does a lot. Whether you do the powered one, whether you do the manual one, don't skip this step. The manual one's a great shoulder workout. It's important. It does a lot for your project. And this is where having the crushed gravel is important, as opposed to like a rounded gravel or like a river rock kind of a thing. It's got jagged edges, and when you tamp it down, the edges lock together and it becomes really solid while still allowing drainage. So having a crushed gravel as opposed to like a rounded, just landscaping, pretty kind of a gravel is very important. Same thing goes with your sand. You don't want like a silica sand or very fine, like a sandbox play sand, or even like a sandblasting, kind of a fine particulate. You want a masonry, I don't know, concrete type sand. It's the type that they sell in the big giant bags in bulk outside of the hardware store. And that's the same thing. It's a coarse sand, and it's going to lock together when everything packs down, and it's going to give you a much better base. So the day comes, they deliver the bricks, the poly sand, some of the regular sand. I had to go get more because I don't know why I didn't put extra in that order that they were just going to deliver. It would have been a lot easier for me. Now, I know there's an argument online that some people say you don't need the weed barrier. I get that. I decided to use it under everywhere. That's just the decision I went with. It's up to you, really, whether you think the weed barrier is worth it. We start doing the sand. Since we'd worked so hard on getting the base nice and flat, you could lay out these pieces of PVC and they give you a consistent height for your sand. I've seen professional guys online use like a steel pipe because they don't flex as much. You can really do your grading exactly with them. I already had these pieces of PVC from doing the sprinkler lines, and I'm not going to go spend the money on steel pipe just for one project. But that's what a professional recommended, so that's what I'm passing on to you. Either way, you lay down the PVC, and then you can take a board or something straight, smooth out the sand across that, and you've got your nice base. We start laying the bricks. When you start laying the bricks, sometimes they'll be just a little bit off, and you get tempted to start trying to perfectly straighten each one as you go. What happens when you do that is that you'll create a little bubble in the sand as you know what I mean. And then the next one's going to be a little off. So now you're doing that one. The next one's a little off, and the next one. Don't fall into that trap. Just lay the bricks out, whatever your pattern is. Boom, boom, boom. So much is going to get fixed as you go. Don't worry. If you're close, if you're right on there, take your time with it. Make it nice. But don't think the very first step you have to make it end project perfect. You get them laid out and you work on it. It's one of the funner steps of the project because you can really see it's all coming together now. Tapping on each row with the mallet is to keep all the rows of bricks tight as you go. So when you're all done, you don't have any big gaps. All the bricks are right up against each other. When you're doing the sand, this is your last chance to hit high spots, low spots, to get it just right along the side of the patio or along the gate or something where the height is really exact where you want it. A little extra sand, a little less sand. Sand is great. Now the sand is nice and smooth. You don't tamp the sand when it's just the sand. All you'll do is mess it up. You laid it out, you spread it out, it's nice and smooth. Leave it that way. After you've laid out your bricks, now you're going to do the borders, the edges. Look at a lot of pictures online, figure out the style you want to do. I just did the perpendicular to the area kind of borders where you just turn a line of bricks and put them all down the edge. Along the wall, nice straight line. Along the gates, nice straight line. Parking spot itself was fairly easy to do, and I'm glad I did that first before I got into the curvy path stuff and the fire pit out in the yard. Professionals will have a saw, like a wet saw, and it'll dump water on it and keep the dust down as they cut the bricks in a nice perfect line to lay up there. I didn't have that. I have a chop saw that I put a mason bit on. It's like a giant grinder disc, and I have the grinder with the little diamond blade on it from when I was doing the blocks. Draw out a line, score it with the grinder, and then, because it's a small grinder, you got to pick up each block, do the sides, flip it over, finish the cut all the way through, because the bricks are 2 inches thick. Boom, boom, boom. And then I kind of concave out the cut edge just a bit so it's not jagged, and when you go to butt the other bricks up to it, you know it's at least a flat surface. If it's a little less than flat, that's okay too. It's going to fill with sand. Don't worry about it, but you don't want a lot of parts sticking out. If you like the videos, if you like any of them at all, the long ones, the short ones, give us a like. We appreciate it. All right, so one thing I want to tell you is when I started doing the repair on the wall, I went online and I bought this diamond mason cutting brick disc. It was cheap. I want to say it was like $6 or $7. I used it for the cinder blocks on the wall that I cut, and then I used it to trim some concrete from around a fence post, and then I was using it when I started doing the border bricks along the wall there. About halfway down the wall, this little disc was dead. It was just heating up, just running. It wasn't cutting anymore. So I went to the hardware store and I got this one. You can't see it anymore, but it's a DeWalt brand diamond cutting disc. I want to say it was like $30, maybe 35, not sure. There's a few cheaper ones there, but I just grabbed this one. I thought it was pretty expensive at the time. I'll tell you what though, that one has finished all of those borders. It trimmed some more concrete from around the fence. It ended up finishing the parking lot borders as well as the entire rest of the pathway, fire pit, yard, and it's still going strong. So if you're buying a diamond disc for cutting the bricks, just get a good one from the start. Don't waste your time with the super cheap ones online because they die right away and it's just going to cause you frustration. Now along the gate, on the outside of the border, I did a concrete edging. I dug down a little bit and then I did kind of an angled, and I packed concrete all the way up to about, I don't know, ½ inch, ¾ inch from the top. And that's because it's going to get driven over. That edge is going to have tires and the weight of the camper, the truck, anything else that comes through here. It's going to be a well-used edge, and I wanted something really solid along it. I wasn't sure how well the bricks are going to sit there by themselves. Along the rest of it, I got this plastic stuff. It's kind of an L shape, and it comes with these plastic spikes, and you tack it in, and that holds the bricks in place. It's cheaper if I just did the concrete all the way around, but it's kind of messy, and I found this stuff online cheaper than the hardware store, and I thought I'd give it a shot. Seems to be working, especially after you do the polymeric sand at the end. You almost don't need the edging strip, but I still recommend it because you don't want to kick and then pop a brick up or crack it or do something. It does add some strength to the whole thing, and it makes it easier later if you're going to landscape, whether you got grass, gravel, anything else. It gives you a nice border to butt up to. Somewhere under that pile of pallets is 10 bags of the polymeric sand that goes down on all these bricks. All right, I got to apologize for something. I keep saying polymeric sand. It's polymeric. Polymeric sand is the sand I'm talking about. I don't know why I keep saying it every other way. I think in Europe they must use the polymeric system, but here in the US it's polymeric. It's a sand, but it has additives, polymers, that are put in there, and then when those polymers are activated, they turn into like a glue. Here's the thing about polymeric sand though. There's different kinds, there's different brands. All right, there's some kinds that are made for deeper or wider or thinner cracks, but there's also different brands, and each brand has their own instructions on how to apply it and use it and make it work. Some say you put it in and wet it once. Some say you wet it and then you got to wait a certain amount and then you wet it again. Whatever brand you get, make sure to follow the instructions for that brand and that type. Don't just Google random polymeric sand instructions, because there are ways it can fail, and following the instructions is important. Having said that, it's easy to use and easy to do, again, as long as you follow the instructions. All right, tools needed: brooms, blower, vacuum, hose, compactor. Yeah, no. Oh, I have most of that stuff. 1. Dispense product. Step 2. Sweep with a push broom. Sweep, 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 sweep. You want to fill in all the cracks. Step 3, run plate compactor.
There is an instant gratification to this. As you're doing it, you can see the bricks kind of vibrate, kind of equalize out, and you see that sand going right into the cracks. Now we do another round. That actually took all day. But now we're on to the next step. Remove excess sand with a fine bristle broom. That's a fine bristle broom right there. Next step, shower. Not inside bathroom kind of shower. We're showering the pavers. We're showering, and then we're waiting a little bit, and we're showering again. Oh, it's getting real. This is getting it wet. So the little stuff or glue or whatever it is that's mixed in the sand, the poly part of it, activating. Bam. Yay! Campers coming home. Campers coming home. Campers coming home. Now we're going to do camper projects. After we finish all the yard stuff and house stuff, garage stuff, patio stuff.
Hey, I said I'd give you a looky look of the entire yard if I got it done. I've gotten all the bricks laid. I've gotten most of the edge trim strips done. The only thing I haven't done is the poly sand on the pathway and the fire pit area, but I'll show you all the bricks. Pardon the mess. There's the camper. There's the ladder from hanging the Christmas lights. There's the path that extends the patio out. Here's the corner. Like I said, I still got to sand this. Then we go this way. And this is where the fire pit's going to be. That's my yard. It's all the bricks. It's a lot of bricks. Hey, thanks for hanging out and watching. I had a lot of fun doing these. I know probably a million people every year do a paver project. I'm nothing special, but I tell you what, at the end of it, you really get a sense of accomplishment, especially something this size. We ended up using about 3,700 bricks because I ordered 4,000 of them and I got about 300 left. I think it's just enough to do the little space where the trash cans live next to the garage. I learned a lot. There's a couple of special service tools that helped me out a lot. One was this You see it? Wooden spreader thing that I made. It came in handy. Another really handy thing was the old pooper scooper. This was great for moving sand and adjusting the sand, especially when you're doing the edging. You're using little bits at a time. Somewhere, if there's a doggy heaven, my old dog is looking down on me laughing that I'm still using a pooper scooper. Believe it or not, this was just phase 1 of the backyard. This is most of the hardscape. There's a couple other things now we're going to do. We're going to do the fire pit. We're going to do a planter. We're going to do some other things. One of the big things I got to do is get all this extra dirt out of here so we have room to do the rest of the plants and everything else. Again, thanks for watching. You're awesome.